What if access to health enabling and climate resilience environments was a central guiding principle of all urban development? This is a question that guides the work that I do. I'm a public health physician and urban epidemiologist, so I say my patients are cities. I also believe the cities can be medicine. So a lot of the work that I do is focused on key aspects of urban environments that we know shape our health, but are also inform and are shaped by climate change. So we know, for example, that climate mitigation actions that that work through addressing air pollution, that work through creating environments supportive of physical activity, and work through access to food systems. We know that this is where we get the best bang for our buck. In terms of health co-benefits. So lots of the work that I do is focused at that intersection of how we can harness urban environments for health and climate resilience through action on air pollution and physical activity. Now, yesterday, I ran with Fran. We did the park run down the road. Lovely green space. I ran and measured air quality whilst we're running using this commercially available device. And the air quality was within the World Health Organization's guidelines. Very low air pollution, fantastic. Now, this is unlike over 90% of the world, where the air we breathe does not meet these standards. And so informed by this, in addition to the research that I do here at Cambridge, I founded UrbanBetter as a tool to accelerate healthy, sustainable development. And one of the key ways we do this is through what I call precision advocacy. And so Cityzens is our way of doing that. And what do I mean by precision advocacy? Think park run, but youth-led, data-driven, using citizen science to advocate for planetary healthy cities. Our model is to equip and connect a movement. I should have said in a disclaimer, I love puns, so you might see running puns throughout this, is to equip and connect a movement. So at the core of Cityzens is a digital infrastructure that allows citizen scientists to collect data in addition to wearable sensors using an app that collects geotagged photo, text, voice data. We integrate that on a visualization platform where they can then see, well, how does the data the sensor collect relate to the lived environment? And we also provide them with training from shaping and understanding the question, right? So the scientific method of designing a question, running an experiment, and using the data you identify to shape your advocacy and to drive action. So I'm going to give you an example of how this has played out with a citizens initiative called the Citizens for Clean Air. So we are Africa-led because this is the most rapidly urbanizing continent. It's got the youngest population. So we started with a first hub in Lagos, the largest city on the continent, recruited run leaders. They convened, they review data. So it could be data based on your lived experience. It could be data based on air quality data. They then designed an experiment. They wanted to understand, why does this part of the city have better air quality than that part of the city? Why is this day better than that day? So they ran an experiment. They designed the experiment. Okay, we want to run in these two areas at this time and compare them. So that they run with that, they then come back together, they review their data to say, well, what are the key insights we're finding in these areas? Using the visualization to say, okay, what are the kinds of things and what are the key messages, prescriptions for decision makers that should come from the data? They write about it, so generating, raising awareness through blogs, etc. By the way, these are young adults, so they're students, they're architects, they're urban planners. They mobilize others to join. So they piggybacked on the World Environment Day, World Running Day, mobilized over 300, 350 people from government representatives, civil society, other students they organized a relay. And as part of that, communicated and disseminated their insights from the data that they generated. They also looking at the landscape, engaging with decision makers. So they look at spaces where decision makers are to really socialize their message, to say, how can we be part of the solution? How can we be part of shaping the kinds of decisions that you're making, and how can we leverage citizen science to sense the ways that the risks and the exposures that we are encountering whilst we're actually doing something healthy, which is physical activity. So the Citizens model of the precision advocacy is scaling. So our model is through social franchise models. So we work in partnership with local civil society organizations that acts as that social infrastructure and allow citizens to organize in that way. So I'll leave you with two questions that I'm grappling with at the moment. So I started with the one question that shapes my work, but the two questions I'm grappling with at the moment is, one, how can this kind of scalable, data-driven advocacy model serve the purpose of also democratizing science, right? How can it accelerate the mainstreaming of science in society? How can science support this kind of work? So we're thinking, for example, how can machine learning help all the data that they generate to generate insights? And the last point is, how can this kind of data-driven citizen science, data-driven advocacy, how can this work in tandem with other participatory ideas around deliberative democracies and participatory governance? How can mobilize and equip a connected, youth-led movements that use data and understand scientific methods? How would that shape the participation in defining and designing our environment, our urban environment, to prioritize health and climate resilience? So please come speak to me if you're interested in that.